with mean. Okay, the mean, like we said, is just the average. It's another word for it. Yeah, Christian?
What's that last word? Measures of what?
Center, sorry. Measures of center. What does it look like?
Counter. Like COW. COW is crazy.
Counter. C-O-U? Counter? Center, my bad. Measures of center, right? Median, mode, mean. It's all like in the center of our data. That's what we're talking about. All the different ways we can measure out the center. First being the mean, which again, just another word for average. So to find the mean, it's just going to be the sum of all data divided by the number of data points. Sum of all data divided by the number of data points. For example, let's say here's the EHMS basketball scores for the year. $36, $42, $51, $38, $62, $57, $40, $57, $55, $50, $54, $65. And yes, I made those up. But it's fine. Take a moment to get that written down. I'm going to pass out a little table. Do not glue it in yet. I'll let you know when. Just keep it at your ready. So if I was going to find the mean for this data, what can I do with all those numbers? List them least to greatest. We could do that. Is that really necessary for the mean? No. But I'm glad you mentioned that, Colby. Let's kill two birds with one stone, okay? We're going to add them all together, but let's list them in numerical order from smallest to greatest, because that's going to help us out when we find the what?
Median.
That's right. They need to be in order for us to find the median. Great job, Colby. What's my lowest score of the year? 36. So as I write 36, I'm going to check it off so I know I wrote it. It's a good little habit to get into. Plus, what's my next lowest score? 38. Check that off. What's next? 40. Then 42. Then what?
51.
Even before 51 is 50. Then 51. Then 54, 55. Hope I don't run out of room. I will. 57, 57. Boom, boom. And then what are my two highest scores? 62 and 65. Don't be like me. Don't run out of space. Write very tiny. Anybody run out of space? Good. Well, not good, but it's okay. So we got them all in order now, right? Sorry, I can't go on with this. I'm just going to redo it. If I run out of space again, I'm just going to stop the notes. Perfect. What are we going to divide all this big old thing by?
12.
12. Where'd you get 12? I don't see 12 points anywhere on there.
It's the amount of numbers.
Yeah. What does that 12 mean in this specific context? What are we talking about? That's right. 12 games played. So there's all my scores. I'm going to combine them all together, and I'm going to divide that number by 12. For those of us that have our calculators at the ready.
I got it.
Christian got it?
I got it faster than you.
Okay, hold on one sec. Let me wipe this out so I can stop looking at it.
Well, you're not a dog, bro.
Okay. Perfect. Like you can't even see anything was written there. Christian, what did you get for our sum on the top?
Oh, I don't remember.
What?
I don't remember.
Well, take the number you got and multiply it by 12.
Oh,
Right? We're just reversing what you did.
661.
Is that what you got?
No, 607.
670?
607.
607. Okay. When there's this much, this brings up a good point. When there's this many data points, we got to be careful we're typing everything in right. Because I just had to type in, well, I didn't, but you just had to type in 24 numbers. The odds of one of those being wrong is pretty high. And if one of those numbers is wrong, everything else after that is wrong. So we add those all together, and what do we get again? 607. Sounds right to me. I will trust you. Divided by the 12 games, that gives me a mean of
50.6. I rounded up.
50.6. Now, can I score 0.6 points in a game?
No.
No, so what can we round this to?
51.
51 points. That's my average. That's my mean. Right? So some of the games the team scored less than 51. Some of the games the team scored more than 51. And one game they even scored 51. Everyone cool on how we found that? Okay. Now let's take a look at the median. That's my mean. Here's my median. Median just means middle. So I'm going to look for the number in the middle of this data set once I, like Colby said, arrange it in smallest to greatest order. Now, I have 12 data points here. So is there going to be a perfect middle point? No. So we'll count. Excuse me. Sorry. We're going to count from left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. There's my 2 middle points right there. Okay. I'm going to bracket those up. And I'm going to average those. Am I going to divide this by 12 like we did before?
No.
What do I divide it by now? 2. Gives me 105 over 2, which is 52.5. Can't score 0.5 points, so we'll round this to what? 53 points. Relatively close to our mean, but slightly different. And the fact that we can see, hey, my median's a little bit bigger than my mean, this actually tells us something about our data. What it tells us, when the median is more than the mean, what that means is that all the scores below the median, so my low scoring games, are more spread out. Right? Because all those low scoring games, drop down the average. Which makes it a little bit different than our median. We'll talk about what it means when I say they're more spread out in just a second, but I'm going to let you guys write that down first. Everybody got that written down? Okay, here's what I mean when I say the scores below the median are more spread out, right? Right in here, somewhere in the middle here is 53, right? That's our median. So let's compare my median to my highest scoring game. What's the difference between my highest scoring game and my median? 12. 65 minus 53 is 12. You guys see that? Now, 36 is my lowest scoring game. What's the difference between my median and my lowest scoring game?
Subtract 12.
Well, you do 53 minus 36. What would that give me? 17. So there's a bigger difference from my lowest scoring game to my median than my highest scoring game to my median. When we see that, typically, that means my mean is going to be lower. Doesn't necessarily matter all too much that we know that, but it's good to know. It's a fun little thing to, I guess, think about. I don't know. The last one, the not so important one. Mode. How do we know a number in a data set is the mode again? It recurs the most. What is happening? It recurs the most. It's my repeater. Well, look back at that data set. Is there any game score that appears more than once, Tyler?
57.
Yeah, take a look. 57. So what is my mode? 57. Points. Sorry. Okay, let's focus, guys. Christian, 57 points. That's my mode. Now, why might the mode not be the best measure of center here? Think about it for a second. I'm going to say the question again. You guys are going to talk in your groups. Why might the mode not be a great measure of center here? Okay? You guys all heard the question? Okay. Take 60 seconds to talk with your group. See if you can come up with something. Why is the mode not the best measure of center? All right, what do you guys think? Why might the mode not be a great measure of center? What did you guys come up with? Anything interesting? Christian, you came up with something. What did you say?
I'm not exactly sure. Correct.
That's okay. It's okay to not be correct. I'm not correct all the time.
That's great.
You got it. That's okay. We can come back to you.
All right.
Anthony, you got it?
I was gonna say maybe because it's greater than the median and the mean.
Yeah, it definitely in this instance is greater than the median and the mean. Can the mode ever be less than the median or the mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Tyler, what'd you guys come up with?
So like if you have like 1, 2, 3, and so on all the way to 100, but there's like 200s, and it's not reliable to find data.
So you're saying my mode can occur at the very end of my data set? Like what if they scored all of these, right? They only scored 57 once, but then there was 2 games where they scored 80, right? What would my mode be?
57 or 80.
Well, I'm saying if they only scored 57 once,
Oh.
and then they scored 80 in 2 games, what would my mode be?
80.
80. Is that a good measure of the center? Not at all. It just so happens that they scored 80 points twice in the season. So that ends up being my mode. I like that you pointed that out. That's exactly where I was going, right? Liana?
I was going to say something pretty similar, like the mode could affect the way you perceive the nature of the data set.
Good. Yeah, if you see that 80 is reoccurring more than once, you must go, wow, they must score 80 points a lot. Even though there's 36, 38, 40, 42, 50, right? Those are all a lot lower than 80. I love that too. Alex, you had one?
I was gonna say that it takes up like one more spot in the sequence.
Yeah, it does take up another spot in the sequence. Absolutely. Great. I love all those points. Those are all great. Now, certain data, the mode of certain data is more important than others, right? For this specific example, because all of the scores are within a fairly, common range, it does align fairly close with the other 2 points, right? Some sets of data, like test scores, whatever it is, the context is, the mode might be more useful, and some it might be less useful. That's why we don't really care too much about mode. It's good to know it, though, in case the test asks you, which it will. All right, do me a favor, go ahead and glue your little table of people in. Give you a minute to do that.
Like the only person, I'm not gonna lie, like his only competition at that time was Bill Russell. Like Jerry Rice, I was like, man, that's football game. Hey, O. Jackson, like the LeBron James of football. He ran a 3-2.
You guys got that glued in?
Yes.
Perfect. First question. What's the context of this? We're not talking about basketball scores anymore. What's the context of this? Grades. Absolutely.
Test scores.
Test scores. Yep. Great inference there with the scores on there. Okay. So we got a bunch of students here. How many students do we have on this list? Wait.
11 or so?
There's 11. Do me a favor. Cross out Camilla at the bottom. We don't need Camilla's score. It'll make more sense with 10. Don't worry. Just trust me. Sorry, Camilla. All right. Now, are these test scores in order from least to greatest?
No.
No, they are not. Now, you might think, oh, I should put these in order from least to greatest. We totally can. We don't necessarily have to. But let's do it anyway. Okay, off to the side, whether to the left or the right. I don't know where you glued it in. Hopefully on the right, so we can write on the left, but it doesn't matter. Who's got the lowest score of the group? Mariah. Maria? Mariah. Like Carrie? Do you guys know who Mariah Carey is? Okay. Christmas, very close. The Halloween girl. I'm going to start saying that. Yep. All right. So Mariah's got 60. Who's the next lowest score? Cordell. I'm going to check these off as I go. I got Mariah. Cordell's next. with 68. Who's the next lowest? Susan with 75.
What is his name?
Okay, and keep going. Fill this out. We got 7 more to go. Figure out who's next on the list, and then I'll ask you guys for some help. All right, who's after Susan? Who's the next highest score after Susan? Tanya? Or Tania? Student I had was Tania. Who's after Tania? Savannah, yeah. Savannah. You guys are funny. Who's after Savannah? Jackie is really only one way to pronounce that. Jakai. Jockey. Okay, who's after Jockey? Leah. Leah. Am I going to run out of room again? Nope, I'm not. Okay, who's after Leah? Melanie? Or Melanie?
Dang, bro, Melanie's smart.
Who's after Melanie? Justin? Sorry, these are all kids from my previous class. My bad. I just look up at the hands, and when I need to come up with names, I just look up at the hands and write whatever's up there. And who's the highest score? Alani. All right. So we could totally find the average here. We could find the median. We could find the mode, but we're not going to do that. We're going to find percentile rank. Now, when we're going to find the percentile rank, we need to be specific. We're not finding the percentile of the whole thing. We're finding a specific person's percentile rank amongst the whole group of data. Okay? I'm going to move away from these numbers just so I can write. You all have the numbers in front of you. So just keep a lookout on those. First, we're going to find Justin's percentile rank. Okay?
Wait, do we have to write that?
The notes that I'm writing? It's a good question.
Great question.
So the percentile rank, here's the formula that we're going to use. I should have wrote that instead of that. Okay. The number of people below Justin divided by the total number of people. Total number of people below Justin divided by the total number of people. Good. So, where does Justin rank amongst his peers? On the higher end or the lower end? On the higher end. So we should expect to see a larger numerator. How many people scored below Justin? 8 people. Melanie, Leah, Jackie, Savannah, Tania, Susan, Cordell, Mariah. 8 people scored below Justin. How many total people took this test? 10. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me so far. Yep, Davis is with me, Alex is with me, Jaden's with me, Chloe's with me, Melanie's with me. Good. And this is why we did 10, because this makes it easier. What is 8 divided by 10? 0.80. Okay, which is 80%. So we could say Justin is in the 80th percentile. So percentile is kind of like a percent. They're like cousins, right? They're related. He's not in the 80% percentile. He's in the 80th percentile. What does that mean? Well, that means that Justin scored higher than 80% of his class. No matter what context we're dealing with, typically the percentile, the higher your percentile, the better it is. Right? When you take the S back, right, and you get all your scores back and stuff, it gives you a percentile rank. It says you're in the 90th percentile, meaning you scored 90, or you scored better than 90% of the people that took it. Okay? If you're in the 20th percentile, that means 80% of the people that took it scored better than you did. Does that kind of make sense? So Justin, only 20% of the people scored higher than him. 80% scored lower. Let's find Cordell's percentile rank. Everybody good on Justin real quick? Okay, let's go to Cordell. To find Cordell's percentile rank, we're going to take the number of people below Cordell divided by the total number of people. Much like how we found Justin's percentile rank, this one's just going to look slightly different because Cordell didn't study. Sorry, Cordell.
I'm scared.
Wasn't this your past?
I know. I just told him sorry. I'm sure he watches all these videos every day. How many people scored below Cordell? One. Who scored lower than Cordell?
Mariah.
Sorry, Mariah. Only one person scored lower. So my fraction that I set up is 1 over 10.
Which is, what is that equals
0.10 or 10%. So we can say poor Cordell is in the 10th percentile. Cordell is in the 10th percentile. Which means Cordell scored higher than only 10% of his class.
I actually put poor Cordell.
Now, there's an interesting thing to point out about this, right? With Cordell, the percentile makes sense, right? 10% of the people scored lower than him. Well, there's only 10 people that took the test, so how many people scored lower than him? 1. That makes sense. Here, I'm going to do this in red just because
Cordell still
it
passed.
looks good. 68? Technically. It's passing in middle school, not in high school. Right? So Cordell, 10% of the people scored lower than him. That's only one person. But look back at Justin. Justin scored higher than 80% of his class. How many people did how many people scored higher than Justin? 1. Where'd that other 10% go? Him. He didn't score higher than himself. So that's kind of a weird thing. You're like, wait a minute. He scored the second highest. Shouldn't he be in the 90th percentile? But that would include him. So if we said Justin's in the 90th percentile, that means he scored higher than 80% of the people in his class, and he scored higher than himself. which he can't, right? That doesn't even make sense. So if you did notice that, that's good. You would expect it to be 90 and 10 because we picked the second highest and the second lowest. There is no such thing as a 100th percentile, right?
Yeah.
The more and more and more people we get, the kind of more split our percentiles can be, 99, 98, 99.9, but there will never be a 100th percentile because that would mean, let's say I took a test and I scored in the 100th percentile. That means I scored higher than 100% of the people who took it, and I scored higher than I scored.
That's crazy.
Does that make sense? That can't be possible. So the highest we can go is like 99 or 99.9 in terms of percentile. There also can't be a 0th percentile because if I scored in the 0th percentile, that means I scored higher than 0%, including myself. That just doesn't make sense. Okay, something to keep in mind. I don't think we need to write that down. Actually, yes, we do. Find some space. I'm going to go up here.
So what percentile is Mariah?
What percentile is Mariah in? Well, how many people scored higher than her? Oh, wait a minute. Let me think about that for a second.
She's in the 0th percentile.
So 0 over 10 is a 0.
No, that's impossible.
So that means that 0 people scored higher than her.
Yeah, she scored.
What about?
Can you have a 0th
I don't
percentile?
like
I know you can't have a 100 percentile.
Justin,
Why do you guys think
higher than 0% of her class. That is crazy.
Good thing she has that. She's open.
There is a way to get
Yeah, that's the important part.
I don't know, man. That's what the book says.
I'm not even gonna
We're just going to write there cannot be a 0th or 100th
Hey Siri.
Yes.
percentile. I don't even think that's going to come up, but whatever. Logically, you feel like there would be a 0th, right? Because if I had the lowest score, then 0 people scored lower than me.
So what would it be, like 0.1?
I don't know. It says the lowest percentile is the first percentile. The highest percentile is the 99th percentile. I don't know. It's not going to come up in the work that you're doing, so it doesn't matter either way. All right?
Finish it.